What was it like for Israelites living in Jerusalem in the days of King David? Nobody can say for certain anymore, but we can make some guesses. So this is my guess, my fictional story of an Israelite family living in Jerusalem in ancient times. The Bible says that King David had taken Jerusalem from the Jebusites, a pagan Canaanite tribe, and that he won a couple of impressive victories over the Philistines. It's possible that Israelite families may have come to live in the city of David right away. Maybe they lived among Jebusites who still lived in the city of David. King David's victories over the Philistines may have come early in his reign. Perhaps there were some years between these wars. Perhaps they took place in succeeding years, maybe in the same year. So maybe it was in the third spring of David living in Jerusalem that he decided to bring the Ark of the Covenant to his new city. Let's say that our fictional Israelite family, living among the Jebusites on the Mount of Olives, heard the news, and maybe the Canaanites didn't know anything about the Israelite religion. So the Israelite father, whom I am referring to as A, since he represents the first generation in Jerusalem, may have told the story of the Ark of the Covenant to his Jebusite neighbors. A had heard this story from his father, who may have heard it from the people who had seen what had happened. I would like to hear A's version of this story and see how it might have been different from the version that we have in the Bible today. We don't have A's version, so we'll just have to go with the story that we have in the Bible today. The Ark of the Covenant was a wooden box covered with gold with a pair of images of angels on the lid. The ark usually stood in the most holy place of the tabernacle. Moses had caused the ark to be built along with the rest of the tabernacle. When Joshua led the Israelites to conquer Canaan, the ark went before the army as they crossed the Jordan River and at Jericho, where the walls fell down. A long time after Joshua, when Israel fought against the Philistines, people got the idea to carry the ark into battle. The plan backfired because the Philistines killed the priests and captured the ark. The Philistines didn't have much better luck. In every place where they took the ark, people suffered terrible, painful diseases, and the idols of the Philistines were found broken in front of the ark. The Philistine people demanded that they get rid of the thing, so they set the ark on a wagon pulled by oxen without a driver. The oxen pulled the cart into Israelite territory, where people took the ark from the cart and set it in a house where it sat for many years. It's not quite certain why, throughout the reign of King Saul, nobody came to return the ark to the tabernacle. Year after year passed, with the Ark of the Covenant sitting in the town of Kirjath Yearim, which most scholars identify as the modern town of Abu Ghosh. This is one of the few Arab towns that remain between Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. It may be that when King David chased the Philistines down to the coastal plain, he may have stopped and saw the ark. Maybe that's where he got the idea to bring it to his city. When King David set out from his city to bring the ark, he may have taken a large entourage with him. Maybe a large military escort, all of his family, and maybe all of the notable citizens of the city. Maybe all the leading elders of Israel. But why did King David want to bring the ark back to his city rather than return it to the tabernacle? Theologians and preachers say that this was part of God's plan for establishing the temple in Jerusalem. Secular scholars say that King David wanted to tighten his claim to Jerusalem as the capital of all Israel. So it may have been a political move, it may have been a religious move, maybe it was both. But as A's family watched the royal procession from their perch on the Mount of Olives, they probably expected a triumphant return. Instead, maybe a few days later, King David returned in mourning. His friend Uzzah had been killed. The terrain near Kirjath Yearim is fairly rugged, and anybody who has visited the restaurants in Abu Ghosh can tell you that it's mountainous, hilly country. So it's easy to see how the cart that carried the ark could have started to tip over on a steep incline. When Uzzah stepped forward to study the ark, the anger of the Lord flashed out and killed him. So it was probably with a very heavy heart that King David returned to his home, and A's family may have seen this return. According to the Bible, King David received a report about 3 months later. See, they had left the ark in the home of a nearby family, and now King David learned that that family experienced great blessing. It seems like King David had expected everyone in that family to be cursed and killed, just as his friend had been. But the news of this family's blessing caused King David to go down once again and try to bring the ark back to his city. Yet the first attempt had been made in the summer, during the wheat harvest. They might have brought the ark back to Jerusalem in the fall, perhaps during the fall feasts. This time the priests carried the ark, as they had done in the days of Moses and Joshua, and not in the ox cart, as the Philistines had done. They offered sacrifices to the Lord, and King David rejoiced so much that he danced with all his might. They pitched a tent, maybe on the north side of the city, and placed the ark inside. The priests played their instruments and sang praises to God, and King David provided food for everybody. The Bible says that he dealt among all the people, even among the whole multitude of Israel, as well to the women as men, even to everyone a cake of bread and a good piece of flesh and a flagon of wine. Sounds like a good barbecue to me. And I'd like to think that A's family came down from the Mount of Olives to join in the festivities. The Ark of the Covenant may have provided a tourist attraction. People may have come from all parts of the Kingdom of Israel to visit David's city and take a peek at the historical golden object. Nobody had been able to see the ark previously because it was in the most holy place in the tabernacle, where only the high priest could go. But now it sat in a tent probably just outside the king's palace. After some time, King David's palace neared completion. The materials for this palace provided by the king of the Phoenicians. And this palace may have also provided another tourist attraction. We might say that A, the father of my Israelite family, got an idea when he saw people coming up from the city to get a good view of the construction of the king's palace. This may have been the time when he got the idea to sell snacks to people who made the climb up the steep hill, and to provide a place where people could sit and enjoy the view of David's city. Big things happened inside King David's newly completed palace. The king sat inside his cedar-paneled house, and he wondered how he could live in such a magnificent place, but the ark of the Lord sat inside a tent. David wanted to build a permanent temple, but instead the Lord made a covenant and promised that King David's line would continue forever. This covenant probably means more to us today than it did for the common people at that time. The Davidic covenant is very important for us theologically. Preachers today refer to it often, but I wonder if people at that time even knew that this covenant had been made, or if they knew of it, how many of them really believed that God would keep King David's line going on forever. Perhaps it was after this time that King David's army went on a series of wars against the neighboring countries. The Bible says that the Israelites defeated Moab and Edom, the Amalekites, and the Arameans. King David collected tribute from these countries, which must have stimulated Israel's economy. He built a corps of 100 chariots, and he put garrisons in Edom and in the ancient city of Damascus. This must have been a wonderful time to live as an Israelite, especially as an Israelite living in the city of David. But as we will see next time, good times never last forever.